You're listening to Seek Travel Ride, a podcast sharing bike adventures from people from all over the world. And this episode is sponsored by Old Man Mountain, makers of the most durable bike racks out there. If you want to head out on an adventure, you need to strap gear onto your bike, and Old Man Mountain have you covered in a myriad of ways. Head to oldmanmountain.com to find out more. Now, onto today's episode.
I was there and I realized, okay, I cannot move. But then I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna freeze because I just had my rain jacket on and now down jacket was around 0 degrees. And you just lay there, it's still dark. And yeah, my plan was to wait for another rider to come, but riders are not coming in the middle of the night. They come in the morning. I then realized, okay, I have to do something. I have to either move to make my body warm again or to get my down jacket from the bicycle. So what I thought was, okay, I don't care about the bike. I don't care if the bike lands down in the river. This is like a really serious situation. So I have to make sure to switch into like emergency mode.
Welcome to Seek Travel Ride, where we share the stories and experiences of people taking amazing adventures by bike. Whether it's crossing state borders, mountain ranges, countries or continents, we want to share that spirit of adventuring on two wheels with our listeners. Hello listeners, Bella Malloy here, host of the show, and today I'm super excited to be speaking with ultra cyclist Carlotta Schumacher, who many of you might actually know as Lotti Power. Now, Lotti didn't come into racing ultras as someone who raced bikes a lot previously. In fact, her introduction into riding long distances was thanks to her dad encouraging her to take on some brevets as part of the Audax world. Lotti was hooked. She ended up doing all of the qualifiers for Paris Brest Paris and then successfully rode the event in 2023. Since then, Lotti has gradually been pushing her riding further and further, and she made the switch to taking on ultras. She's got quite an impressive bikepacking ultra CV, by the way, taking on events like the Trans Pyrenees and Transcontinental first up, and then many more in between. Before 2025, she's participated and finished all three of the mountain races. Listeners, that's the Atlas Mountain Race, the Hellenic Mountain Race, and the Silk Road Mountain Race, completing what's often referred to as the Triple Nelson. This puts Lotti among a relatively small subset of riders who have challenged all three in a single season. And in case you weren't impressed enough by all of this, well, Lotti only just turned 20 a few months ago, which means she's often the youngest person racing these events as well. A key part of Lotti's story is also how she travels. She's deeply environmentally conscious, and riding bikes also just so happens to be her form of transportation. So she rides to the start line of all of these events she races in. That can sometimes mean riding thousands of kilometres from where she is to the start line. It blows my mind. That choice has shaped everything for Lotti. It informs how she trains for events, how she plans out her journeys, what gear she's going to use, and on the topic of gear, well, she actually makes a lot of that herself. As a result, Lotti was awarded the Green Dot Award for 2025. Since finishing Silk Road Mountain Race, Lotti has continued to ride east, and I'm actually speaking to her while she is in Taiwan. My mind, listeners, boggles at all of these experiences which she has had so far. Whether that's racing an ultra event or touring through countries, I just cannot wait to dig into this story. Lotti Power, I'm so damn excited. You're a dead set legend. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so pleased to be here as well.
Lotti, something that I knew about you was your infectious personality and just how happy and positive you are. And listeners, even just before we press record, chatting for a few minutes, the energy in both of our rooms is up to the max. We are energized. Lotti, I have such a long list of questions for you. I cannot wait to hear your answers, but the question I start my show with, and I ask it of all my guests, is, Lotti Power, do you remember the very first bike you ever rode?
Oh, that was a long time ago. Like the last bike I remember, I think it was like a white bike with black dots from Pookie, the children's brand. That's the bike I remember. But I mean, I've did some balance biking before.
Bikes without pedals, pushing yourself along. The first bike, that white bike with the dots, did it have like training wheels or stabilizers?
Yeah.
Do you remember like the time that you took them first off?
Oh, actually, I don't.
Riding bikes is something your family all does, doesn't it? It's not just you riding bikes. I feel like you are born into a family that's embraced riding bikes.
Yeah, totally. Actually, when I was younger, I didn't enjoy it that much. My butt often hurted. But like my family, we have like 2 tandems. So like one of our parents is in the front and me and my sister, we used to be like in the back. So we could make like bigger touring when we were like, I think it was 7 or something when I did my first bigger tour, first 100K, like on the back of the tandem.
Wow. And this was in Germany? Like, or did your family ever go away from Germany for rides as well?
Yeah, mainly in Germany. So we used to, I think we went on like a small island in the north, which is called Juist. And then from Juist, we cycled to Hamburg. But we mainly did like some touring in Germany, yes.
So in a way, your first adventures were actually taken, like you said, what were you? You were 7 years old when you did your first 100K. Like, oh my gosh, it was almost like you were always fostered into the into the life that you're leading right now. I mentioned it in my introduction. In terms of long distance riding and, 200Ks, 300Ks or further, that was a concept that your dad sort of introduced you to. He encouraged you to do a brevet, didn't he?
Yes, he did. And like, I mean, it's a different thing to cycle 100K on like a tandem with one parent and it's totally flat. Actually, right now I feel like it sounds like as I've been like, I've been cycling my whole life, but it didn't play that much like big of a role. I maybe once did like a trip in summer. And I come from a bike-friendly town, so I used to do like everything with my bicycle. But I'm not really into like this. Yeah, basically, like I'm not that much into ultra cycling or like cycling in general. I've never been like in a cycling club or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when my dad asked me, it was like in 2023. He actually organized these Paris. So he was like, yeah, you could join. And I was like, yeah, okay, why not? I've actually done like 200K on my own before because I visited my grandmother at the Lake Constance in the south of Germany. And then the next day I went to my other grandmother in Switzerland, in Zurich. And then I was in Zurich and I thought, okay, first, I planned to go back to my grandparents at Lake Constance and then home. And I thought, okay, maybe I can go directly home. So that was actually my first 200K, yes, on my own, like in 2022. And then my dad thought, okay, let's just like do it like in an event, maybe a bit quicker. Yeah, then I showed up there and I liked it a lot.
Oh, gosh. You know what it takes me back to? I vividly, Lotti, remember the first time I rode 200 kilometres. And it was a goal of mine for ages. And I did it with my husband. It was a New Year's Eve in Australia. It was really, 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 really hot. And we had done many, like, we were in a cycling club. So we used to ride every week. We could easily turn up on any given day and, do 100 kilometres, maybe 150 kilometres with mountains. But we'd never done that mythical 200. And I still remember it felt like a struggle, but I just felt like this big ball of pride inside me when I got to the finish of that. Do you remember how you felt at the end of that first 200 kilometres, riding from your grandmother's house, getting all the way home?
I remembered I was like at the last, 30Ks. And it was just like sunset. And I was like feeling super proud and knowing that I will make it because it was just only going like downward.
It's a nice feeling.
That was really nice. But actually, I was proud that I can say, I have this number with like the 2 in front. But at the end of the day, it's not really like that special between like riding, 150K or 200 kilometers. But yeah, I definitely was proud, but it was not that much of a big deal. It was like, okay, on my list, riding 200K, okay, I can look it up and now go to the next whatever.
And it's interesting because it was a brevet that you did, which are run by the Audax Association typically. And I feel like there's a different, I want to use the word vibe. There's a different atmosphere around Audax events, say, to an ultra cycling event in a way. Like, and the people that participate in both of them, they might actually be the same people, some of them. But I just feel like in the Audax world, There seems to be a little bit more, well, there's different rules, obviously, there's different checkpoints, there's coming together, there's eating together and determining, you might have if we're talking Paris Brest Paris, for example, you come to a school community hall, you get fed dinner or lunch, you might have somewhere to sleep. Like, there's a different sort of atmosphere to that to an ultra. Do you think just coming into a world where there was that type of community in it sort of prompted you to really enjoy this aspect of cycling and actually enjoyed doing bigger distances? Was there ever an element of that?
So you mean like that I like the Brevis because of like the community aspect?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, well, when I did my first 200K, like I walked into this place where we like started and you could get some breakfast, but there were like basically lots of people, but most of them men, and most of them were like the age of my father, like around like 40 to 50. And I was like, okay. I was like the only young person who was like, I don't know, younger than 30.
You were the odd one out.
Yeah, and I mean, I was 17 at that point, so I was like even younger than I'm now. And there were like only like 3 women. So I was like first a bit surprised, but then, like I just started riding. Yeah, then you get in contact and then you're like, oh, friends of my father's or the other riders, they overtake you and they're like, oh, you're that girl, you're like my father's daughter. And I was like, yeah, that's me. Hello, nice to meet you. And then I made friends with all the people there. And I was like, that was like such a big part. And what I really like also about that Paris is that it's more community, like you are allowed to draft, for example. It's kind of like teamwork. You stop if there's a flat tire, and I really like that. But I also like that kind of challenge aspect that you do have a cutoff time and you have to qualify yourself somehow. I think that combination is like, and for sure also like the cycling aspect. But I think that time it was more motivating for me to have like an event and to do that like as a challenge, as an official challenge, than just like riding. Totally.
Are you the sort of person that would do the same event twice? Like, I know you've done Paris Brest Paris now. Obviously, you've moved into the ultra cycling world. Would you do the Audaxes to qualify to do Paris Brest Paris again?
Yes. So like it depends a bit on the time. So I'm generally like more curious about new races and new places, because why should I like do an event twice? But I feel like, for example, at Paris Brest Paris, it's, for example, less about the route and the nature, because there's not that much to see.
It's not the most thrilling part of France, no.
Yeah, but it's just like the vibe. And I would like to do like Paris Brest Paris again, because I think you can just go there with like a group of friends and just do it really as a team. And, it's a bit easier because you have like every 100K checkpoints. I think it's cool, for example, if I have a friend who's new to ultra cycling, so we could do it like easily together, and there's not this kind of, I mean, it depends. For example, when you look at the Transcontinental, the rules are really strict, and you're not allowed to ride more than whatever. Like, it's not even given, but like not even like 15 minutes. I always felt the feel when I saw other people. Okay, one of us after 5 minutes has to move on, and the other one has to stay because I don't want to break the rules. And that's the thing I really enjoyed at the Brevis series. They just go with the flow. And yeah, and I think it's just such a unique vibe, especially because of the people.
All the villagers get out on the roadside. People are cooking up crepes and serving it to riders on the road. There's like famous spectators who collect postcards from all the participants, like when they're there, and you send them in. And like, there's some great documentaries about it online as well. I've not ridden it. I have said I'd really like to. So it's still a goal for me to do. But you are right. There is there's a camaraderie, I think, amongst participants there. And I'm not saying it doesn't exist in the ultra world, but what you said there, when you're at the Transcontinental, getting a little bit anxious because am I too close to a rider? Am I riding with them for too long? Is this a break? Those sort of things as well can play on your mind. And it definitely becomes more of an individual goal rather than that camaraderie. Although I must say, before you did Transcontinental, you did Trans Pyrenees, and you did it with your dad, didn't you?
Yes. So after Paris Brest Paris in summer 2023, then like there's this autumn, and there are not really events, and it's off season. So you start to get on YouTube, you see some videos, and then I saw like something about the Transcontinental and I directly signed up. And then I was like, oh, like there are actually like 4 weeks between so maybe it's also important to say that. So in 2023, I was still in school. So I had like one final year, which was like the season 2023, 2024. So I graduated in summer of 2024, and I knew that between my graduation and the Transcontinental, there are 4 weeks. So I thought, okay, it's summer, maybe I can fit another event in there. So I then like looked up for events, and I saw something on YouTube as well about the Trans Pyrenees, and I checked it out and I put myself on the waiting list. And then it happened that like one pair said that like they could not start. So there was like 2 spots free then. And I planned to do it on my own, but then my mother was like, no, my father has to take care of me. And it was like, okay, I take my father with. No, I was happy to have like an event with him. So we then could sign up together. And then, yeah, we did that.
So hang on. I need to get the calendar right in my mind. Was that 2024 Trans Pyrenees?
Yeah, it was 2 weeks before Transcontinental. So it was quite close.
Oh my gosh. I did not realise that the proximity to the two races, because actually this is something that's confusing to some listeners. There's 2 Trans Pyrenees events, isn't there? And they're both called Trans Pyrenees. And there's one that's put on by Lotti, and there's another one which isn't.
It's by Trans-Iberica.
Trans-Iberica, exactly. So which one were you doing, the Trans-Iberica one?
Yes, it's the shorter one. Like the Trans Pyrenees by Lotti is in autumn, and it's much tougher, it's much harder. It's like double the size, like double the length. Also 10,000 meters of climbing more, so it's much, much, much harder.
Yeah.
Because it's always I did the Trans Pyrenees, and people are like, oh, and then like, no, not the Lotti one.
Oh no, but you know what? I'm just gonna. So you know how you've done Audaxes, you've done ultras, and you have done touring now, I guess, as well, between your races. Well, I guess it's the commute to the races is another way to put it. Well, I've done the Raid Pyrenees as a cycle tourist, so I've done what you've done, but in touring mode, and it's definitely not like the Trans Pyrenees, and it's not done in ultra time. But I feel whatever you've done, you've earned that. It's not easy whichever one you do. Like even the one that's half as long has still got a hell of a lot of climbing in it regardless.
Yeah, that's true. It was like 24,000 meters of elevation, or no, I think even like almost 30,000 meters of elevation, like 28 or something.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, for sure. You're totally right. But for me at that time, it was like doing the Trans Pyrenees by Lotti. I thought I could not make it. So for me, that time, it was like, no, I didn't do that. But like this one, because there the cutoff time is a bit more chill. But I definitely agree. It is a tough challenge. Yeah.
And doing it as a pair, like with your dad, there's positives and negatives to racing as a pair in an ultra. Like the positive is obviously you have the personalities of 2 people to emotionally balance the feelings or emotion of someone else. When someone's maybe going through a tough time, the other person can help lift them up and, emotionally get them feeling better again, or vice versa. There's a mechanical, you can problem solve. You've got 2 people, someone can figure out where you're staying, someone can go and do the shopping run. There's positives to that. The negatives are sometimes you're the one that's feeling really good and the other person isn't, and you have to hold yourself back. Or conversely, you're the one that's not feeling great and the other person's feeling good and you feel like you need to push yourself more. Like, doing it with your dad, how did that feel? And who got on better with the race?
I think I would say you start with a different mindset. Like for example, I start with a different mindset when I go and race this event with my dad than if I would just go there on my own. For example, if I just go there on my own, my goal would be to be as fast as possible or like as efficient as possible. And with my dad, it's about like more about the experience itself and not about the result at all.
So the stress of making a certain position isn't even something you're considering.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, for me, it was nice because it helped me a bit with like all the planning, because I don't like planning. Yeah.
There's a few things you've said here which I want to explore further. One of them is that I think there's a trend with what you've done, Lotti, in that you've booked yourself to do big events, and so then you've decided at different points that you should do other events in the lead up to help build your ability and skill level to feel like you are able to do and complete the big event you signed up for. And the other one is you don't like planning, but you've signed up for events that require you to create your own route and all of that. Like, how does this happen? And ultra racing is full of planning in how do you plan your day? Where are you going to eat? Where are you sleeping? You're the decision maker. So, wow, how has this happened?
That's true, but I think there's a difference between planning and decision making. So, for example, I think in terms of decision making, I'm really good, but I take the decisions spontaneously. So, for example, we now look at, for example, Transcontinental, I think my route wasn't perfect, but it was quite good. But for example, in Bosnia, I ended up on a dirt road in the middle of the forest with some signs that just told me to not leave the way because there's mines around you and you might be killed by some explosions if you leave the track. And, it gets it's towards the evening, it's dark. But I think I'm really lazy. But in the situation itself, I don't have any problem to deal with it. Step by step, I then got a flat tire, and then I step by step fixed my tire and just made sure to get out of this shit before it gets dark, before the bears and the wolves come.
There's obviously an element of your own little personal skill set that allows you to maintain a certain level of calm or level-headedness to be able to just keep it calm. You can get through. There's an innate ability to trust yourself that you have the skills to problem solve and get through whatever you need to get through.
Yes, totally. Yeah. And for example, for the Transcontinental, I've never planned where I will sleep. I often slept outside, so it was I just could do that spontaneously. And I think it was a big advantage because I think most people who do a plan, at some point the plan won't function, or there's a gravel section that will take you longer and you disappoint yourself somehow because you are not able to stick to that plan, and that might affect your mindset or your positive thinking. And for me it was just I just want to arrive. I don't want to stay there or stay there. I just go as far as possible, and then when I get tired I just look for a bush or something and I'll just go and lay behind the bush. I'm also not really picky in terms of my sleeping place. But as you said, that's also a privilege that I kind of a skill that I have, that I just I don't need the safety or the security to, or the thing to know that you will be at that hotel, and what if it rains, and what. For example, I also traveled to Kazakhstan and I didn't travel with a tent. So.
Which blows my mind, Lotti. That absolutely blows my mind. You bivvied your way across, right?
Yeah, I basically just had an emergency blanket and my sleeping bag. So I had more like a race setup.
Yeah. Wow. Actually, do you know who this reminds me of? And I don't know if you've ever connected with her before. She's not really active on socials, but a previous guest of mine, Pippa Langen, she rode London to New York. Oh, I don't even know if Pippa took a year to do that. It was 25,000 kilometres, but she bivvied pretty much the whole way. She didn't have a tent either, and she was doing it ultra cycling, sort of. She would get to a stage where she was doing consecutive days of 300 kilometres a day or something like that. And the only other person I can think of that's come remotely close to that I can say is like that is you.
Yeah, but it is possible, and for me it's also actually fun to do that, because then you have this kind of extra challenge. But I totally understand that people, now that I have a tent, I feel totally safe. And now it's the challenge to find a good place for the tent, which is still also a challenge. And if it rains, it's still sometimes super annoying if there's heavy wind.
Yeah.
But I think that's really personality things. But because I personally can also totally imagine that one wants to have this kind of, at least this kind of safety. And yeah. But I'm not picky at all. For example, I also slept super random places, then in a garage, someone's garage. Or I just made sure that I leave before the people get up.
Yeah. I bet you've had some really interesting places. Conversely, though, you must have had some pretty dreamy locations too. When you're out there sort of really in an isolated place where you've got it all to yourself. You must have had some amazing places that you've gone, wow, how am I in this amazing part of the world, right?
Yeah, but I actually I'm more a person that prefers to stay in a village or a bit surrounded by people, but not directly seen by people.
Do you do that to be, in a way, connected with people so you don't feel like you're on your own?
Yeah. It's like more the mental aspect, yes.
Yeah. Listeners, when I head away from home on my own bike adventures, there are a few things I always take with me, and having a VPN has become non-negotiable. Remote work and bike travel are just a fact of life for me now, especially as I split my time between Australia and France. I've been using NordVPN for around 4 years now, and it means that I can get on with all the boring life admin that isn't going away just because I'm on my own bike adventure. I can use public Wi-Fi to do things like banking, logging on from cafes, campgrounds, hotels, train stations and airports. And I always know NordVPN have got my back, giving me peace of mind that my data is protected. I like that Nord's simple and fast to use. It works on all of my devices. To get the best discount off your own NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/STR. Our link's going to give you 4 extra months on their 2-year plan, and there's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link's in the podcast episode description box. Support the brands that are supporting this podcast. Now back to the episode. Well, you know how you were saying there's one thing that you really love about this is the challenge. And that has to be the case because it feels to me, and I don't know if you would agree with this, do you feel like with every ultra that you have done, it's leveled up? Like it's gotten progressively harder?
Yes, I mean, that was also a motivation for me to sign up for the Silk Road because I did Transcontinental and it's known as one of Europe's most toughest ultra cycling events. And I mean, it is like 4,000 kilometers. The cutoff time is quite hard. And their gravel parcours, it's like it goes through lots of countries with like really bad infrastructure and you have to find your way somehow. You have to plan the route. There are many challenges, but I didn't really train for it. I mean, I did my everyday life and I started to do some longer rides. I did like one test ride to check the route a bit, but it was with the motivation of just that I like cycling and not that I want to train. Yeah, but at the end of the day, I made it and I was surprised that, I mean, I did have some struggles, but I still made it. And I thought, okay, it was like, for sure I had these struggles, but it was not that difficult. Like, for sure it's tough on the body, but you have a clear plan, you know what you need to do. And if you're tired and exhausted, you just need to sleep, you just need to eat. And then you get up the next day and you just continue. That's like, basically that is it. And it's not that, difficult or, I think the like in terms of finishing an event, it takes the mindset has like a really important role. I think the body decides more when you will arrive and the mindset is about arriving or not. But as I said, I was like totally surprised that it was kind of easy to make it, or also like on time for the cutoff. And then I thought, okay, people are like talking about the Transcontinental as the toughest whatever. And then people are like, Silk Road, wow, this is such a tough event. So I thought like, okay, I want that. I am actually looking for the point for the event where I have to quit because it's too hard. I really want that somehow. But so far I haven't had that.
Yeah, because I want to talk about the mountain races actually. And the temptation is to go straight to Silk Road where it is, oh gosh, like to me personally, I think that is next level. If you were to say comparing Transcon to Silk Road, would you agree? Like Silk Road is, I feel, exponentially harder, but maybe I'm wrong there.
I think it depends a bit on your type. If you like more, like for me, I think it really depends. So for Silk Road, for example, I think the gearing matters more, like how much weight you put on your bike. Because, for example, I personally had like a relatively light bicycle. And for sure, it is rough. And it's like also with like the damage of river crossings that I hated so much.
We're going to talk about them later, but yes.
I would say like generally, I would say, okay, Silk Road is a bit harder, especially mentally.
Yeah.
But physically, I mean, it depends on which level. But I think you can take more time at Silk Road. you can be slower and more like at Transcontinental, you really have to make sure to make it on time for the cutoff. But maybe it's also difficult to compare because I was fitter when I started at Silk Road than I was the year before.
Yeah, but also I wonder also, because Silk Road does just have a very, very different type of terrain, you're also adding elements in like, altitude. It's obviously off-road, river crossings, a route that takes you to the side of a ski slope with a very, very steep drop-off where you might slip into the river. Those sort of elements, I think it's more, in a way, it's more conducive to you need to be slowing down to make sure that mentally you can get through those challenges. Whereas you are right, with Transcon, there's always this awareness that the clock is constantly ticking. And just because you've made one checkpoint doesn't mean before the cutoff, doesn't mean you're going to make the next one before the cutoff. And you're a mechanical away from being too far away from a solution to then putting you behind schedule. So I guess the challenges are different. What I wanted to talk about with the mountain races was, I think you signed up for Silk Road before you signed up for Atlas Mountain Race. Was that right?
So I think I signed up to Atlas first, but I had planned to sign up for Silk Road first. And then I saw the ad on Instagram with Atlas, and then I thought, okay, that might be a good preparation.
So my hypothesis that you sign up for events to prepare for other events might be correct then. And then what was it like to ride to, I guess, in effectively a different continent? The way you get to the start line is by riding there. But what was it like to ride to Morocco?
Oh, it was actually one of my highlights of 2025.
Wow.
But I have to say, I didn't give myself a lot of time to go there afterward. Like, now that I'm looking at it, I feel like I should have taken myself more time, because I was quite in a hurry, because I had 3 weeks before the race to get there.
Where were you leaving from? Were you leaving from Germany?
Yeah, Germany.
Of course. Wow, how far? So hang on, what distance are we talking about for 3 weeks? And listeners, bear in mind, this isn't the race, this is just getting to the start line.
So it was 3,200 or something, 3,400. So it was quite a distance. But yeah, I wanted to have 4 or 5 rest days in Morocco. So, there's not that much time.
No, you take that off, that's that's almost a full week.
Yeah, so you have I don't know, it took me I think 17 or 18 days with 1 rest day, and then I did every day around 200 kilometers. But I mean, the reason why I loved it so much, I think it was because I was hosted by a lot of people, and then you have okay, today you meet I don't know, this person, and then you're excited to meet the person, and you have this clear goal for every day. And yeah, I can really recommend it. It's a platform called Warm Showers. Do you know it?
Yes.
Yeah, I love it.
There's a few different ones now, actually, Lotti. I think in Germany there's one that I was told which is called One Night Tent. And there's another one which is more popular, I think, in France and Belgium, called Welcome to My Garden. I don't know if you've heard of those before as well, but they're awesome to look into as well, listeners. But go ahead. Yeah,
but that was kind of this great motivation. You'll get a bed, because it was quite cold that time. I started in Germany, and it was snowing, it was freezing. My water bottles, they just were totally ice.
Wow.
And then okay, you have to make you have to do the 200k, and then the next day you wake up and you with your host, and you feel so comfortable there. So you're there for breakfast and you talk, and then suddenly it's 10 or 11 a.m. and you're I need to go. And then
that's a hard thing, right? To pull yourself away from a really comfortable situation to go out into discomfort. That takes a different type of mental reserve, I think. It's no different to say now when say you've got a tent now and it's been raining overnight, to get yourself out of the warm sleeping bag and outside and pack up everything to go out to ride in the rain. It's a hard, you have to make the decision, but there's always a reason why you want to delay having to make the decision. And I imagine being hosted by beautiful people, welcoming you into a warm house with a beautiful warm meal, wanting to hear you and talk to you and share stories, but knowing you've got to ride in abysmal weather, that's hard, right?
Yeah, but for me personally, I think it was less about that comfort, because I think it's really different from waking up in a tent and it's wet or whatever, than waking up in an accommodation and you just pack your bike and then you leave. that's not really the point, but I didn't really want to leave them because I was like, they were like...
enjoying their company.
Yeah, I wasn't really enjoying the conversation.
Yeah.
It was just like, I want to spend more time with you. And then suddenly you get out and you're oh shit, I have to write that, like, this kind of distance. We have the next host, and yeah, now you have this kind of pressure. And then for example, I didn't really stop. Like, I wrote like 10, 12 hours nonstop until I reached the host, because I didn't, as I said, like, I was like there at 10 and I left, and like 10 plus 10. And if you're lucky, you arrive at 8 p.m., which is already relatively late.
Especially in wintertime, exactly. Because, I mean, we're recording now in early Feb, and, I mean, Atlas Mountain Race is literally just a few days away from starting, I think. So,
yeah.
Wow, yeah. Like, just think of that, listeners. Northern Hemisphere winter, and you're out there doing 10, 12-hour days just to get to the start line. How do you find that switch then, Lotti, mentally, where what you're saying to me and it comes across so strongly is you're energized by being with people, you enjoy people's company, you love having time with people, whether that's sharing experiences, hearing stories, sharing a meal. Ultra racing, especially ones that you're competing in on your own, you've got to be so focused. It's individual. It's a lot of time on your own as well. Like, how do you find swapping between the two?
Oh, I think, like, for me, my biggest motivation with these ultra races is, like, really, in first place, the challenge, but also, like, the social aspect. For sure, it's a different one than if you tour and you have the time to talk. But for example, the race like Atlas Mountain Race, you meet a lot of people on the way. And that's also a reason why I prefer much more like fixed route racing. And especially if it's like off-road and really remote, if you go into a village and you definitely meet people. I was quite in the mid-pack, so I met like around like quite a lot of people, like up to 20 people per day. If you're like more in the front or more in the back, it's probably less than that. But I feel like the social contact within the race is there, and that's also a thing that really motivates me. And that, like, yeah, I mean, that time, for example, it is a challenge in first place, but you have like also this more like race aspect than if you just go like do a brevet.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of cool to have that, like the both, like that more where your actual time matters. On the paper, it doesn't really matter, but you like, okay, say you tell yourself, okay, I want to finish in less than 7 days or whatever. And then I personally haven't done that with like brevets. With the brevets, I just went for it. And there, I think it's like a bit more of a challenge, or maybe like a different challenge, but you still have this social aspect. But for sure, it gets a bit less, I would say. But yeah, I mean, there's also like, first, it felt a bit like a pressure to know, okay, if like, I don't know, if a broken tire or whatever, I have to fix it on my own. But now I feel like I've learned, because I have to do it on my own, I've learned a lot about it. For example, I left with a tubeless setup that I didn't set up. So people, like, I got my bicycle set up tubeless and I had no clue what to do. And I went to a bike shop in France before and got some plugs, and they told me how I'm supposed to do it. So I thought, okay, I could do it in case, but I kind of hoped, like people were like, tubeless is so good. You don't like, yeah. And
it's really good until it's not.
Yeah. And then, I got this flat tire 500 meters before the first check on the first night. Was like, now I have to put this plug in. And yeah, and then this was like another challenge, like I had like through the whole race, that this mountain race, I had like, I think 8 or 9 punctures if you put everything together, because I then put a plug in and that hole was fine. But then the air was coming out between rim and tire. Was like, how am I going to manage? I don't want to put a tube in, because I've heard that most people who have like a tube in, it's like not really good. Like, yeah, you're likely to get another puncture.
Yeah, and I guess that's down to the terrain, because the terrain's so rocky and off-road, you need lower tyre pressure. You're more likely to get like a pinch flat and puncture your tube as well. So, oh gosh.
Yes.
How did you get through? It's just taking time on the side of the road and problem solving and just getting through it?
Yeah, so I kind of also had this okay, I'm not that far away from the cutoff. So, I mean, I arrived in the early morning, like at 6 or so at the checkpoint, and the cutoff time was like 12 hours later. But I still had this in my mind, okay, I need to kind of keep on going and not to stay like, I don't know, 5 hours at one place. But what I did was I got myself I saw that I realized I had a puncture. I was there at the checkpoint, got my stamp, and then I wanted to sleep for like 90 minutes. And I thought, okay, I pumped it up. I put the plug in, pumped it up. And then I thought, okay, just leave it with that. And then in the morning, I realized, okay, like my tire is already flat again. And then I thought, okay, what is the system behind tubeless? So you somehow need to get the sealant to that place. So I thought the best thing is to just keep on riding, which I did. I didn't have to pump it up I had to stop, pump it up, and then continued. And at some point, I just hoped to not lose that much air, which also functioned then. And then I just kept on riding. And then in the afternoon, the next day, I just got another puncture, but I did the same.
Yeah, so you sort of like nursed your way through. Yeah.
Yeah. And I put some tape, Gorilla tape. You should always carry some with, like on the rim. And then I removed the tire from the bicycle and just made sure like that the sealant comes everywhere. I spilled it around, and like that helped.
It sort of shows again, like it's that problem-solving mindset that you need. And whether listeners that's like racing an ultra or going on a cycle tour, and whether that cycle tour is 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 months, a year, it's that problem-solving mindset of things aren't going to run smoothly and perfectly all the time. You need to be flexible to know that you're going to have to take the time to fix it and that you will learn how to figure things out. Is that the worst sort of mechanical that you've had in the last couple of years, like having to deal with constant tubeless issues, or have you had other horrendous mechanicals as well?
I broke my crank. It was not in a race, but it was on my way back from Atlas. And it was really a pain. Yeah, the crank is something you cannot just. I mean, I then made my bicycle to a balance bike, but it was I cannot really recommend. It's not really comfortable.
Just the thought of it. I've interviewed someone, Lotti, who had to zip tie their cranks back together, and I've also interviewed someone else who's managed to just ride with one leg. I think Biking Viking, James Benson. Hey Benson. He rode with one leg, I think, for, I don't know, was it like 500 kilometers or 1,000 kilometers maybe?
Wow.
In Mexico. But yeah, I can picture you with one crank. So what happened there? Like, what was wrong? You don't know, or?
Yeah, I know. So it was like there was dirt coming in and it made a noise, but I just ignored it because I was in the middle of nowhere. And it was on my way back from Spain, and I crossed over to Portugal. And at the time it was really bad weather, a lot of rain. And I took some off-road roads and went into deep water, and then it was just a lot of dirt and stuff in
bearings totally gone.
Yeah,
bottom brackets not happy.
But it was not possible to continue at all. I also tried to but it was was completely broken off. So two parts were moving. So I literally
like your pedals aren't at sort of 180 degrees. You're not at 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock on your pedals. It's not cement. Yeah, wow. Oh, that is race ending. If that happens in a race, that's race over almost.
Yeah, it depends where you are. But because I'm I think I would not mind to kind of walk 200 or 100 kilometers to the finish line if the cutoff time allows me to still finish the race on time. I mean, I have the privilege that I usually still have time after the races to finish the race whenever I want to. And I always have to go, okay, in first place, I want to finish the race.
And then, so your priority is to start and finish an event. And then after that, you sort of reassess whether you want to try and go for a high position or something.
Yeah, but I mean, the more races you do, the more you feel okay, the more confident you feel about kind of finishing the race itself. You're okay, you have a different, mindset. You want to not only finish the race, but you want to do it in a certain time, because for you just to see the race as finishing the race is not enough of it. I don't want to say not enough of a challenge, because it has some, I don't want to judge it kind of, but you get used to this kind of challenge and then you just want to do better somehow.
Because actually, was it Hellenic Mountain Race? I think it was Hellenic Mountain Race where you podiumed, didn't you?
Yes.
And that was something that you weren't expecting lining up for that event. That was totally unexpected, right?
No. So I went with my touring bike to Greece after I went to Morocco and then I was back home and then did some other stuff. But then I left to Greece with my touring bike. And my touring bike is quite heavy. Like for a touring bike, I think it's quite fine. I'm really happy about that bike. It's really comfortable, but it's not made for climbing.
Mm.
And in Hellenic, it's like almost 30,000 meters of elevation on a distance of not even 900 kilometers. So it's like up and down and up and down. So if you have a lightweight bike, it helps a lot. So I actually was lucky that a friend of a friend then texted me that I might be able to get like a sponsored bike, because they were like looking for a person who rides his bike, takes some videos and hands over the footage. So I thought, okay, that's cool. I get a free bike.
Yep.
I just need to finish that event. And I think that the bicycle was the perfect option for me because it was like a super lightweight, full carbon bike. It was 3 kilos lighter than my touring bike.
That makes a big difference on a very climbing course.
Yeah. The gearing was not perfect, but I got the bike then like 2 days before race start in Greece. And then I had to organize some stuff with the tires, but I could make it then. And then my goal for the race was I want to make it as like fast as possible. Like I knew that in Atlas I was like in like finished overall around like top 80 and like I think in like top 10 women was like, yeah. So I thought, okay, maybe I can make it like, I don't know, maybe top 5 might be, but I wasn't sure because I knew there were like still some strong riders, also people that I've met at the Atlas and who were faster than I was. I mean, there were people like Megan and Hannah.
Megan Hakkinen, absolute champ, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, both of them now, they both won Silk Road, so you're like,
yes,
like it's not really an option to think that you as like a kid will come there and be like competitive with those girls. But
yeah.
So I just kept on going with my like super lightweight suspension gravel bike, which helped me a lot, especially at the hiker bike, because I just rushed through the hiker bike. It felt more for me like trail running than like hiker bike, because my bicycle was as light as never before. It felt more like with a road bike with some, I think it was closer to my Transcontinental setup than to my Atlas Mountain Race setup.
What about terrain then? Like you were talking there about how in Hellenic Mountain Race there's so much climbing. It's all up, down, up, down. Do you enjoy that? Like, do you enjoy being in the mountains?
I generally just enjoy climbing. But I think now that I think it's also a bit different. I mean, now that I have to feel, okay, I'm good at it. Like I did really well at Hellenic and I was like totally surprised when I went through the first night because I didn't check the tracker and the person told me in the evening, yeah, you're like third woman. And then I overtook the second woman. And then I wasn't sure. I went through the night and I just continued, didn't really check it. Like a person told me before I was at CP1 that, oh, you're a second woman. And I was like, you get that adrenaline and you feel strong and you just continue. And then I kind of was waiting for the moment to be overtaken by, I don't know, like 2 or 3 or 4 women who just basically slept in the first night. And then, they came from the back. And I then met Hannah, and she missed like a track at the beginning. So she was like at the beginning more in the back and then, came from the back. But it was like crazy to see that I can keep up with her. And now thinking overall about like all that climbing, it has a different effect when I feel like, okay, I succeeded. I have like this kind of, okay, wow, I landed on the podium, which I didn't expect. Now I feel like, okay, I'm good at it. I have it positively associated. But yeah, depending on like independent from what I did and like the podium, whatever, I really enjoy climbing and mountains, and I will always prefer the mountain road to more flat route.
Yeah, because, well, actually, let's talk about a more flat route, because from Hellenic Mountain Race, your challenge for that year was to do Silk Road Mountain Race, and you ride to the start lines of your events. There's a lot of desert between there and the start line in Kyrgyzstan. How did you feel when you had switched over from ultra cycling race mode to bike touring mode and you're finding yourself in big, vast desert spaces?
Yeah, so it didn't change that much. So I just I sent my racing bike home, my race bike home, was swapped back to my touring bike. But I mean, I still had kind of more like a racing setup. As I said, I didn't have a tent. I didn't even have a bivvy. I just had the emergency blanket and my sleeping mattress. But I crossed Turkey, and it was a great experience because I went more on the rural side, also more like land inward, not along the coast. And then there were like also more mountains, and mountains just give me a motivation. You know, if you see great landscape, great views, then you're like, yeah, that's the place to be.
It keeps the mood high.
Yeah.
You and I will get on really well, Lotti, because I live for mountains. I love nothing more than just seeing a mountain and then a silhouette of mountains. So a chain of mountains, one after the other.
Yeah.
Sometimes I might curse the road that I'm on taking me up to the top of the mountain because it can be really hard and really slow. But I always I love it. But I guess my idea there behind the original question, what was it like when you were in the deserts? Not so much for the physicality, but the mental side of being in the deserts.
Yeah, totally. It's totally different. So in Turkey, it was all fine. I had the mountains, but then I crossed over to Kazakhstan, and it was just like flat all the time, super hot. And, you know, there's nothing. There's just 100K with absolutely nothing, not a single piece of shadow. And it's hot. It's getting hot. So you have to get up early and you cycle. Then I met another cyclist, and a group of cycling people, and we all took the plane from Tbilisi to Aktau to skip like the Caspian Sea. So my first days I spent with this other guy from Germany, like on the road, which he was more into touring. And then so we spent the first 2 days together. And then I just continued on my own. But yeah, for sure, it was mental. It was mental, especially if there's headwind and you're cycling 10 kilometers per hour, and you know you have to do 100K to get the next spot to get water or shadow. And it's kind of a risk because there's just only sun. And if you get if you get a heat stroke, you're just in the middle of the desert. I mean, there are some cars every now and then coming. So in case it's a really emergency, you can wave the car and try to get help.
Get some water and get some help. But yeah, you're out there on your own because listeners, you will know that I really love Old Man Mountain Gear, and their racks and bags have become a huge part of my own bike travel setup. Now, they've recently released a new item in their lineup, which is the Atlas Rack Pack in a 12-litre version. Now, I've been using their 9-litre version, and gosh, I have FOMO for this one. It sits on top of your pannier rack, and it's just everything the 9-litre version is, but that little bit better. It's got more capacity, which is useful if you need just that little bit of extra room, but you don't want to have to change your whole setup. They've got side pockets now on the outside for easy access, and something that I really love the look of is this air release valve, which means you can compress it down properly once it's packed. It's a great option if you're running panniers and want a stable, easy access top bag. So if you prefer a rack setup over a big seat pack for longer rides and travel, this one could be for you. Go to oldmanmountain.com to check it out. I've got a link in the episode show notes. Support the brands that support this podcast. It leads into a question which I've got for you, which is all around resilience. And we've spoken a bit about it before, but this actually comes from a previous podcast guest and fellow ultra racer, fellow TCR racer, Lizzie Jenkins, who I think you met a few times because you both raced the same event together, didn't you? So you might have seen each other. I think she said she saw you a few times during the event.
Yeah.
So she said, "Oh, amazing. She's a legend." There you go. So Lizzie thinks you're a legend too. I find it really interesting that Lotti did TCR with not too much experience and also quite young. I'd love to know where her mental resilience comes from and how she has learnt to trust her instincts so early on in life. I'd also like to know how she's navigated the trickier encounters on her journeys of being a young woman. I know she's posted a few situations before, and she's always got great content. I cannot wait to hear the stories. So there's sort of two questions there, obviously, then, Lotti. One is how... Because I must admit, I've had to sort of mentally pinch myself a few times hearing your stories to remind myself that you're 20, that you've experienced so much, but the maturity which you talk about your experiences is something that I would expect from someone that's maybe, 30 or 40 or twice your age. Obviously, some of that comes through experience, but the thing that Lizzie talked about there, the resilience and to maintain your positivity, like where does that come from? Like what would your answer be to that?
I think I'm just like really stubborn. Like there was this challenge in school and which was like during COVID. And so you had to walk or you could get points if you walk. And then there was like a challenge between like all the classes who can get the most of like walking points. And like most of my pupils, they didn't really care about it. They didn't take it serious. We had like sports, female and male separated. And I was once in like the online session with the boys because the girl session was not really, not really good because we didn't really do sport. So I joined the boys lesson. And then the teacher, like the teacher was like more like, you should also, like, he was more like the guy. If we have like sport together, he would be like, yeah, boys, be kind, to also give the girls a chance to be part of the game. And I was like, ooh.
Let me show you what this girl can do.
Yeah. So he told the boys, okay, if there's any person that can run more kilometers than him in the next, I don't know, until April, it was like in March or until whatever, the whole class will get an reward. So I thought I had like this kind of challenge to get like points, which was like a school challenge combined with the challenge of that sport teacher. And I was like, I'm going to get the prize for the class to just show the sport teachers that I can run more kilometers than him. So I did half marathon every day for a month.
Half marathon every day for a month. There you go, Lizzie. That's where the resilience comes from.
I think I'm really stubborn, and I feel like if there's like something that motivates me, like this kind of teacher, I'm like, yes,
then I can do it.
I can do it. And like the ultra cycling scene, there are lots of people who like, I was at Stavan of Transcontinental, and there was this guy who was like, I sold my own bags for the Transcontinental race because I didn't want to, I didn't have the money to spend, or I didn't want to invest so much money.
They're awesome, by the way. Like, listeners, make sure you check the photos out that I'm going to post with Lotti's episode. Like, the bags you make are awesome. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, and there was this guy at the start line. I shared an Airbnb with him, and he was like, oh, this bag is not really aerodynamic. And he was like, yeah, I want to finish Transcontinental in sub 12 days. And he was kind of, being like, a bit like this guy who was like, oh, and you come there and you're 18 and you want to race this race. I don't think you will succeed. A bit like this. But I also had this kind of imagination in my head, I will arrive in Istanbul. But independent from that, I then met this guy again. For Transcontinental, my strategy was just basically to not stop. So I tried to stay as long as possible on the bike itself. Either I sleep, or I go shopping, or I sit on the bike. And because I was not that fast.
Yeah. So your stop time was an absolute minimum then. Like if you weren't sleeping, you were riding, and if you weren't doing that, you were buying food so that you could eat on the bike and then stop to sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, for me it was clear, I have this motivation, I have this challenge. I'm not sure whether I will make it, but I think I will make it. But I've never tried it before, but I think I will make it, and other people have done it before. So theoretically, it's not that difficult. You just have to keep on going. And I'm not going to lie, it was hard. You have like saddle sores, you have this brutal heat in Greece. My hand got swollen. It was like more like a turtle. Got like a little turtle thing on top of you because it was it looked like a turtle because it was super swollen because I had like a lack of electrolytes. Then I had some mechanical issues. And then once I went through the night because I thought I have to keep going because it was so hot during the day that I was not able to ride, and I had like sunburn every day, everywhere. And then I crashed, so my knees were like bloody, and they even got infected because I tried to disinfect them, but I then like hit the road again, and there was some dirt inside, and they could not heal during the race. So it was definitely hard. But for me, there was not an issue that I could not solve so far. So for example, if I get saddle sores, I try to ride more in the standing on the bike, while standing on the bike, and not
to relieve the pressure. Yeah.
Or you have I have like this idea of like, if I descend, I put my left leg up and my right leg down, so I sit less on my butt and more on my left leg, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. So you're more putting pressure on your legs and raising yourself a little bit off the saddle.
Yeah. So I kind of you kind of try to find some ways to keep on going. Or for example, if there's a climb, if it's hilly, you can also push up and ride down to have then your butt has time to heal. Yeah, and for me, it was in first place important to arrive, to make it on time for the finishers party.
And I guess in a way, I mean, you did. So you showed that guy up, and your bags survived too, didn't they?
Yeah, and for me, I never thought about quitting. I never thought about not making it. I thought about what if I don't make it on time? But the cool thing is I have the time. People who work and just go there for the event, they have to work afterwards, and they don't have the time. They have their timetable. They have to be at the finish line at that time. They have to go back with public transport, and they have to be there at some time. Otherwise, they will have a problem with their work. But I don't have this limitation. And there's two things that prevent you from finishing something. One thing is motivation, and the other thing is time. If you don't have, maybe we can combine motivation with discipline, like motivation and discipline, but at least you need that kind of motivation, discipline, willpower, and the time. And if you have those things, you can do whatever you want. But at some point, you will either don't have the time or not willing to spend the time, or will lose the motivation. So basically, you can do everything, but you just need, I'm on the opinion that every person who listens to this podcast, okay, they might be if you have a serious health issue, then it might be a different thing. But if you have a healthy body and you're willing to do, for example, Silk Road, absolutely convinced that you will be able to do it.
Yeah, if you're motivated.
And that might be that you have to try it once and you maybe fail, but if you have the time and the motivation to go there a second time, for sure it's also about resources like money. And I mean, I'm out there from a privileged situation that I'm able to do that, but I'm totally convinced that everyone who really wants to do the Silk Road or the Transcontinental or whatever bike race, that she or he will be able to do that if the motivation at the time is there.
Yeah, and I guess it's also listeners putting into perspective onto whatever event it is that you want to do. Maybe it's a case like what we were starting at the start of the show. Maybe you want to ride your first 100 kilometres or 200 kilometres. Maybe you want to go and do a brevet. Maybe you want to qualify for Paris Brest Paris. Maybe you want to tour from Germany to Morocco. There's all these different things. They're not just ultra races, but I think the point you're making is really valid against all of that. It's the motivation needs to be there. You have really got to want it. And if you're motivated to do it, you'll find a way to make it work for you, again, if you have the time. And I love that part of it. There was an extra element to Lizzie's question which she touched on, which was about your experiences and encounters that you had on the road as a woman and how you've gone through those situations. What would you say to our listeners that's occurred, and what's been your experience in regard to those sort of things?
I have to say that for me, generally, it's also a really personal experience, because I have friends that made different experience. And I personally have never really had a situation where I didn't feel safe. Yeah, I always felt safe, independent from the country. I was maybe you sometimes have weird encounters. For example, I also heard about the GCR. There was one woman who got harassed by some motorcycles. So she was like just cycling, and they were like, harassing her, and they slapped her on her butt. I think it's a different thing when you have experienced that to get back to this trust. But me personally, that I didn't have experienced that, I have this kind of trust.
Yeah.
Like it will be good. And I had like people, like, I don't know, some random people who were like talking about like shitty things, and you're like, shut up. And it's like not really pleasant. But for my bicycle somehow gives me safety, because I have the feel that I can just ride away, which is not really true.
Wow. So you feel more safe when you're riding your bike necessarily than, say, if you were walking around somewhere?
Yeah. I mean, I did also have this experience in Morocco where I was just like cycling, and there was this guy on a motorcycle, and he was like, hi. And I was like, it was my first day in Morocco. And I didn't like, now that I know, okay, you should be more like business-like, and not that, how to say, you just be distant, but not like that super friendly, because they might misinterpret it. And so I had this guy, and I was like super excited. I'm in Morocco. Wow, this is so cool. I'm the first time that I made it with my bicycle to Africa. This is so amazing. And I'm just cycling here, and wow. And then I met this guy on this motorcycle, and he was like then asking me for my telephone number. And no, I don't want to give him my number. No, sorry, no, sorry. And then he was like a bit, I thought, okay, then I might go just slow. So he loses the motivation to keep on talking to me. But he did not. He then waited for me at the climbs, and I was like, oh. And at some point he then I just ignored him then. And at some point he just didn't really want to continue. But for me personally, it is the fact that it might be different to travel as a woman. And some situations, it can also be very dangerous. But I personally, I have never had the feeling that I felt like totally uncomfortable, or where I got like really afraid. And I think that's the issue. That's the reason why I can keep on maintaining this kind of trust, and this kind of, okay, we'll be fine. And also, I think if there's like something threatening, for example, when I encounter dogs, I'm not like, I want to compare it somehow, because at some point I get so annoyed of the dogs, and like, shut the up. I don't want you to ruin my trip. So I get really angry, and now I'm the threat, and I'm gonna scream at you, and I'm gonna make you feel anxious and scared. I'm not the one that has to be scared because of you.
Hang on, is that your default now with dogs, or is that after having the third pack of dogs chase you through Greece or something that happens?
That's now after that I've experienced so many dogs.
Yeah. Well, where was the worst place you experienced dogs?
It was like sometimes a bit like more and sometimes a bit less, but I think it was Greece. Yes.
Yeah, Greece comes up quite a lot, listeners.
And Morocco.
Oh, Kurt Werby, put your hand up there. You can totally feel where Lottie's coming from here. Kurt had some horrible experiences in Morocco with dogs as well, and I've had a lot of guests, Lottie, who have had the similar sort of stuff in Greece as well. I don't want to talk about dogs anymore, though. I feel like we have talked a bit about Silk Road, but I do want to go back there, and I want to talk about doing the event that when you were at the start of this show, Lottie, you were mentioning how Silk Road was the one you wanted to do, and then you figured out that Atlas would be a good one to do to train for it, and then you picked up Hellenic Mountain Race to train for that. And I guess in terms of training, other than all these ultras and the self-confidence you take from the experience of realising that you do have the physical and mental ability to get yourself to the finish line of these things, you're also training by arriving there through riding. So physically you're doing training on the way. But you did arrive in Kyrgyzstan pretty depleted, didn't you? Like you were sick, you were empty. The tank was running on fumes, we would say here in Australia. There's no fuel left in the tank. How was it in the lead up to Silk Road, knowing that you were arriving to this big event not in the best of conditions?
Oh, it was really hard. So, I mean, it was like end of July, and I was like almost there. And then I decided to stay a few days with the family because they invited me in. Like, I wanted to stay with them for like one night. And then I got totally sick. Like, I had no energy left in my body, as you said. And for me, it was totally frustrating. And also, you have that pressure. You're now in Kyrgyzstan. You're not even at home, but you're in Kyrgyzstan and you made it all the way for this event. And now you get sick before the event and you get like, you organized everything. I got a bike shipped to Kyrgyzstan. A friend brought a bike with the plane to Kyrgyzstan. I've got and then you're there and you just feel totally weak. It's definitely not easy. And then I met some friends we stayed together like in a hostel, and they were planning to ride to the CP1 to go do this kind of altitude adaptation. And I knew I also have to go there because I need that altitude
acclimatation as well.
Yeah. And then I was like, oh shit, but up there it might be difficult with the food and whatever, and I want to make sure to eat the right food, to eat oats, to eat, I don't know, some apples, some easygoing food for my stomach, because
you it was food poisoning you were struggling with, wasn't it? Like or a parasite or something, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So how much time did you have from when you arrived and your bike arrived to the event actually starting?
It was like 2 weeks.
Oh, wow. And you're totally empty, and then within that 2 weeks you've somehow magically got to feel better enough and try and acclimatise to the altitude.
Yeah,
because I think that's something that I have learnt from people is people who seem to participate in Silk Road, because altitude is such a factor, people do tend to arrive a bit earlier, or maybe not all of them, but the people I have followed seem to arrive a bit earlier to be able to acclimate a bit if they can. So how did you feel by the time it was the start? Like from those 2 weeks out, not feeling great, like probably feeling like I could do with the rest here, to being on the start line, when you were on the start line, did you feel like the energy had returned?
So, the thing also, I thought I will be in Kyrgyzstan and I can relax, I can recover from my ride. But there are things I cannot recover. My condition gets even worse because of the food poisoning. And I still have to manage things. I have to go do that acclimatation thing. I still have to, I still have to manage. I have to build up my own setup because I got the bike from Germany, but it arrives a few days before the race. So I built my bike setup once again 3 to 4 days before the race. I sold my frame bag the day before the race.
Oh my gosh. That's like making your own gear. That's like just scraping in there. Wow.
Yeah.
Also, just go back to another level. Like your bike arriving, is that a bike you'd ridden before? Is it a totally new bike?
Totally new. I've never sat on the bike before.
You did take the same saddle from your old bike, hopefully.
No, I did not.
Oh
but
my
it
God.
was fine.
Oh, thank goodness. Because I was going to say that's one of the things. You typically want to race or ride or race, or you're racing in this case, on equipment that you know as well. There is an element of going with what you know, what's reliable. So, wow, I just love how you're just embracing all these challenges. So how did you feel then on the start line? Were you confident? You've told me you had them. Did you still have the motivation? I guess that's the one, because you had the time, but were you still motivated when you weren't feeling so well?
Yeah, I was totally motivated all the time, but there was the first time, this feeling of pressure, because I got mentioned in the reports. People know that at the race series before I landed on the podium, people might know me. I got mentioned YouTube videos about the race. I got mentioned, as I said, in the race report, race podcast, and I'm suddenly seen as a competitive person, while as before I was the person who just rides to the start lines, but this might not be performing the
Yeah, but you might be mid-pack or something. Yeah. Whereas now people have put this level of expectation.
Yeah, totally. And then you also I got some sponsor. My kit was sponsored, the bicycle I got, and then you my nutrition, and then you feel like you want to make these brands happy. I had that feeling. I wanted to show them, thanks for believing in me. I'll show you, I'll do well, and you're the right person to trust. You're the right brand to trust me, because And then I was like, the days before the race, I slept really bad. I had was busy with all the organization. I had to put I had a tailfin rack, and then I put on a tailfin rack and it didn't fit. And then a guy got I had several people who brought me stuff from Europe, but they were all arriving at a different time. And they all went to acclimatize, so they just came back a few days before start. So that was a real issue.
So you're really getting it all together before. Whoa, wow. And then actually, yeah, because then I want to take you to, wow, the race itself. I mean, listeners, you may have been following Lotti and you may already know what we're about to talk about, because there's some, whoa. It was a really challenging race in terms of the route and the parkour and the hiker bike, the river crossings. There were a few people that had some pretty significant falls, I think, and you had some significant stuff happen as well. I want to actually take the time, listeners, to read Lotti's report from one of the days here on Silk Road. And I'm going to read a little bit, Lotti, and you're going to take us there. So you said, I took my light to take a look at the track and I realised that's nothing. It's suicidal. This track has ended in some steep, slippery rocks. It wouldn't have even been possible to hike there, not without a rope and climbing equipment. Okay, so this can't be the track, surely. I tried to go back. It wasn't easy at all. I tried to turn my bike around, but then I lost the grip and fell. I knew the feeling of sliding from the evening before, so I screamed, "Ah!" Luckily, I got some grip. My elbow was still on the slippery track, but as soon as I tried to pull myself up, I slipped a bit further and I could listen to little stones falling down into the scary river below. I screamed for help, hoping someone would hear me. I screamed again and again and again. Nothing. I was calm, but the adrenaline in my body and the caffeine in my head was so intense. I felt my heartbeat bumping in my head. It was the first time ever I had thought about how it would feel to not see my parents again, about not being able to maintain the promise to my mother to stay safe and come back home one day. I could not move because as soon as I did, I feared that I would end up down in the river. That is quite a situation. Even the way you describe that too, Lotti, hearing the rocks that you've slipped on continue to slip down into a river below. And to put context to this, we're not talking that they're slipping just a couple of meters down, are we? This is the night time, but take us right there. Tell us about the situation.
Yeah, so actually, when I started the race, I felt great. I was just happy to have organized everything now that I have my setup, my everything for the race. So I felt good and I felt totally comfortable and confident. So I pushed and I felt good. I had my nutrition. My stomach was good again. And I was really fast until I entered this section of this 30K hiker bike, which the situation you just described was. And I was actually looking forward for this hike because it meant just another challenge, and I embraced the challenge. So yeah, I arrived there in the evening and I just met I was in second place that time, and I met the third place. So we were second and third place in the women's field.
Yep.
So it was kind of, you have this competitive.
That was Sammy Sori?
Yes. And you have this the feeling of, you want to keep on going and you're motivated and you're hyped. I mean, we were totally good. It was not a elbow thing, but it was really, we were more like friends. And we met at the start, did the river crossing together. And then she continued before me. And then I just continued, but it was totally fine. And I thought, okay, I'll just continue until the next river crossing. And then I probably which I did. And then I ended up sleeping somewhere on the track. And yeah, I woke up at 4 because that was my usual time to get up. I had a sleep of, 5-6 hours or something. And yeah, so I continued at 4 and felt great. And then there was this track going straight, and then I checked I just didn't. Suddenly I was at the place where I thought, okay, shit, this is super slippery. And I just took my lights to see the track, and I was like, oh, okay, but I mean, this is the track. I checked on my GPX. I am on the track. It must be the track. There is a trail and there is a track. And I looked a bit around and I could not see where else the track should be. That must be the track. So I thought, okay, Sammy has gone through this. It must be possible. And then I continued and it got more and more slippery. And then I thought like, fuck, this cannot be the track, but it has to be the track. My computer says it and there's no other track. It has to be the track. And I even saw some tire, how to say, like in the sand, I saw that other people have been there before. So I thought, okay, people have been there before, must be the track. And then, yeah, I came in the situation you just described. And I have to say, like now afterwards, I see it a bit more chill because by daylight, it's a bit more chill. But at that situation, as I said, it was calm, but I thought, okay, what would it be to actually slide down there and get seriously injured?
And I mean, Lotti, I've seen a photo that you shared on that post, and we're not talking about something where you just slide in a couple of meters, and like you're on a really slope. I don't know what gradient, but pretty gnarly rocks, scree slope, whatever you want to call it. And if you're slipping how many meters to the bottom? I don't know, like a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, also the day before, I had several times that I kind of the track was so close, so narrow that I could not walk parallel to my bike. So I also slipped down and climbed back up and just continued.
Yeah, and I think like there was one point where I read about that. This was the day before you had slipped, and then you were able to crawl back 7 meters up to the track. Like we're not talking. And this is what I mean. Like to slip 7 meters down a really rocky slope is one thing, and then the next day in the night, you've got another. You know, you're on the precipice of like I wouldn't say a cliff edge, like you're on the side of a mountain effectively.
Yeah.
Because I think, wasn't it a case that you weren't actually on the track?
Yeah, that was the thing. So after the situation, like what I ended up doing was I was there and I realized, okay, I cannot move. But then I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna freeze because I just had my rain jacket on and now down jacket was around 0 degrees. And you just lay there, it's still dark. And yeah, my plan was to wait for another rider to come, but riders are not coming in the middle of the night. They come in the morning. I then realized, okay, I have to do something. I have to either move to make my body warm again or to get my down jacket from the bicycle. What I thought was, okay, I don't care about the bike. I don't care if the bike lands down in the river. This is like a really serious situation. So I have to make sure to switch into like emergency mode. So what I then did, I thought, okay, I was under the bike and I pushed the bike away.
You had the bike on top of you and you pushed the bike away from you.
Yeah. And luckily the one pedal was stuck at a stone. And so the bike didn't
fall down, didn't tumble to the river, yeah.
Yeah. So I then crawled back to the track, which I luckily then, like step by step, I had this elbow on the track and I realized, okay, this is like super slippery. I cannot really get grip, but I then found like I somehow managed to get up. And then I got my down jacket from the bicycle and then just pivoted walked a bit back on where there was like more of a proper track and I camped there. And then I waited for the sun to come also. And then, as the sun came, I realized, okay, the actual track went parallel, but you had to do like a 180 or like...
Yeah, it was like a switchback.
Yeah, like a 100-degree turn.
Yeah, turns back on itself. Yeah. And then deviates away. So there were obviously a case, because there were other wheel tracks, there must have been a case where you weren't the only rider that did that, but then maybe they were in daylight, realised and went away, and you're here in the night with the perspective that Sammy Suri's just been ahead of you, so she's not there, so she must get through. You see wheel tracks, so you obviously thinking it's possible, unawares and oblivious to the fact that no, it wasn't. Oh my gosh, you got through. What an experience, though.
Yeah,
holy moly.
Yeah, and my first feeling was like that kind of I was the problem because, I was just like being stupid to hike there at night. But I mean, Sammy has also hiked there during the night. And yeah, the track was like parallel, but like 30 meters higher or something, or like, I don't know, like maybe a bit less, but like parallel kind of, because the slope was so steep, but you could not see it. And by nighttime, by daytime, if you walk back, but people did the same mistake also during daytime. So I was kind of relieved to realize, okay, I'm not the only person. And there were actually like several people, not only one person, but like several people. As I said, I saw some like people have been there before. So even in front of me were people who did not manage to find the right track immediately.
What an experience though. And like just what I read there as well, like putting it into words what your thoughts were at the time. Like you are just thinking the absolute worst, but still there's an element where it goes back to stuff that you said right at the beginning of the show, Lotti, which was there's like a level-headedness and a sense of calm. You're logically working through what you need to do. Like even in that fear state of if I move and if the bike takes me with me or I could fall down to, plummet. But then you're logically thinking, well, hang on, I can't stay here because it's going to get too cold. I need to get my down jacket. So this is what I'm going to do to logically make it safer for myself. And then I'm going to get away from the situation. I'm leaving my bike. I'm going to bivvy somewhere away and I'm going to come in the daylight. Like that's so calm and logical. And look, I'm not in that situation. I don't know how I would react, but I feel there's an element of wisdom through experience, calmness through experience, self-assuredness because you've had to get yourself through stuff. I've mentioned it on different episodes with people who cycle tour. It's the invisible experience that you load into your panniers before you go away that you didn't have on the very first trip you took, but now you're on trip number, 4, 5, whatever. You've got that extra experience, which really shines through there. Oh my gosh. It's, what an experience. I have another question for you from someone else who met you in Kyrgyzstan during Silk Road. Matt Whitley, I don't know if you remember Matt, but Matty was there with his dad riding.
Yeah, I follow him on Instagram. Yeah, he's such a cool guy. We met at the Hellenic Peak base camp there.
Yeah. He's in Tunisia now, I think.
Yeah.
So, okay, he goes, oh, wow, this is going to be a great interview. You're right, Matty, it is. So he said, I have a question which is about a mindset and positivity. We've sort of talked about this already, but it's a bit different. He goes, Lotti, everyone who meets you talks about your positivity and your chilled, smiley character. How do you maintain that through these intense ultras? Do you think your positivity makes these events easier for you? And P.S. Dad and I still talk about how inspiring we both find you. There you go. So that's a question from Maddie. It's a question I have as well. Like I do wonder how much of what you're able to achieve is because of your mindset and positivity as well. Like we talked about just before, the maturity and the calm demeanor of yourself to problem solve through things. But something else that I would definitely describe you with is upbeat persona, positive, energetic. So back to Maddie's question, like how would you respond to that?
I would say, I'm really grateful, and I think you have to take a different view at like ultra racing because it's such an elite sport, and I'm just like, for me it's totally fun, like not totally, like sometimes type 2 fun, but it's really fun in first place. And I'm so privileged to be able to not only participate but to have gear that makes it more fun for me to participate, that my body allows me to do that my parents support me, that I have a lot of people who support me as well, who cheer me up, who like I've got so many messages during this like Silk Road and around, like from people who cheer me up, and like on the tracking page you can send messages, and it was like I got messages from like I met a New Zealand guy also at the base camp where I met Matt. Yeah, and even his mom sent me a message like, go, 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 go.
Yeah, it is a boost, isn't it? It really boosts you. Yeah, it really energizes you when you get those messages of support from people.
Yeah.
There's another ultra racer. Well, yeah, I mean, I think you can remain an ultra racer even if you haven't done for a while. Emily Chappell, you may have heard of Emily Chappell before, but she's written books on her experience. She was the first woman to finish TCR first. Oh, Emily, what year was that? Oh, I'm not even going to put the year out there because I may get it wrong. No, it might be 2015 maybe when Emily did it. But anyway, I'm probably wrong. Correct me, listeners, if you know. But she talks about in her book, she was struggling, I think, up Mont Ventoux in France. And then she just imagined her invisible peloton. And it's like all these people that, your community that's helping you get through this challenge. And like that is sort of what you're talking about there in a way as well.
Yeah, and I think things what I just did, they are nothing compared to what we actually capable of doing as humans. for sure it might sound extreme what I do right now for like people who have like who are not that much into cycling, but our human body is capable to do much more than what I just did. I mean, for example, a friend of mine, he tried to break the Guinness World Record for the fastest crossing of South America. Yeah, unfortunately, he passed away because he got hit by a car. I don't know if you heard about the story of I got to know him at the Transcontinental race. His name is Mohit Kohli.
Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know but that was really tragic. But I was like, it was crazy to hear about his story because he did like brutally. He had like this crazy weather conditions and then lack of sleep. He didn't even bring his sleeping bag with because his sleeping bag didn't arrive, and he didn't want to have like a low quality sleeping bag, which is like super heavy. So he passed the desert with like not much than an emergency blanket and a down jacket. And I think when I hear stories like this, I'm like, this is great. Like, this is like, wow.
That's extreme.
And I've listened to like kind of like a podcast thing that was like talking about what people have done to survive. So they walked like, I don't know, they were like stuck wherever in the jungle because they took the plane and then the plane had a crash and they survived and then they found their way back. And there you like actually realize what we as humans are capable of doing. And like doing all these events is still like in a fixed frame, there's insurance, there's the organizer has to make sure that everybody keeps safe, and there's still the safety aspect. At some point we might be limited, but we as humans, we can do much more, but we're just too comfortable.
So on that note of doing much more, because when I think of what you've done, and you're 20, you've done so much already, do you still have the desire to do so much more?
I have some, like, actually, like, I have, like, generally, like, right now I'm still I haven't won any races yet. And my dream is right now to maybe, like, win the race. That would be so cool just for me to show, okay, I can, like, be more, like, professional and more competitive in this, like, ultra cycling thing. But then I kind of also dream about like doing this kind of record attempt of like crossing a continent or something, which is like, like the next step. I did like the travel and the races, and how would it feel to race across like a whole continent, which is not only Europe, but like bigger.
Yeah, wow. So like say you went North Cape to Tarifa, or would you be looking to go even further?
Not in a race frame, but more like for me, for example, I don't know, but a friend of mine, we have to, do you know him, Adrian Lichty? Adrian is currently crossing Africa as fast as possible. Like he wants to set a new record.
I think I follow him. I'm not sure. I feel like I know about this, but I don't. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
it's got to be in my algorithm. There are so many people that come my way, but you need to send me his details.
Yeah. So he's currently on his way to South Africa, and he started in Tunisia, I think. It's now on his way south, and that's something that would motivate me to do have kind of like a long-term challenge, which is still like so crazy big. If you think about, I don't know, spending 2 months or 1 month, whatever, like 2 months in like race mode and like doing, I don't know, 200, 300K a day for like 2 months.
It's huge. But this is the stuff that's exciting you, which is totally different. So maybe it's to sign up to an ultra and try and come first, or maybe it's to try and do something like this, or maybe you'll end up doing both. Oh, wow. Huge.
Yeah, so I think my first, like for the next season, I planned some ultra races, and my plan is also to ride to the start line of these races, but in Europe. So it's like I can spend more time with my family, which is also really important because the past year I basically was at home for altogether like 2 weeks, like with my family. And I mean, next year I will ride an event with my dad. I want to spend some time with my sister, and for sure also with my mother, and to do like a family vacation with them. And yeah, but I mean, to just like, yeah, spend time with the loved ones. And they're like great projects in Germany. And, like the cool thing is with social media, I can get in contact with also people from Germany and we get an exchange, but I really feel the need to actually meet them.
Yeah, I've already put my hand up for you to meet me in France.
I also want to meet you.
But Lotti, I'm just putting it on the record now. When you meet me, you have to plan 2 rest days so that when we ride together, we don't have to ride 200 kilometres. Like we can just have a really nice day where we go up a mountain and take in a nice view and then go to a French bakery and eat lovely cake, okay? Like I'm going to inject my slowness into that day. But I feel you give me thumbs up, listeners. Lotti, you're on board, right?
Yeah. So I have that good friend. I also met her at Transcontinental. She's called Sarah. And she's actually like Mohit's partner.
Yes, Sarah Bosslet.
Yeah, exactly. And I would really like to race a race with her, like the Transcontinental also. Like with her as a pair. That would be really cool.
Ooh. Are you talking about doing that? Are you both talking about doing that?
I hope maybe in 2027.
Not this year, but maybe next year.
I haven't talked to her, but...
Oh, wow. News headline. You might talk to her before this is released.
But what I would say, I mean, with her, I would race probably more competitively. But with other people, when I meet other people, I'm really more the person that tries to takes the time and enjoys and it's less about the competition, because at the end of the day, competition doesn't really matter.
No, but it's connection. Yeah.
It's the connection.
I totally feel that.
Totally.
Oh my gosh, Lotti, I knew this would happen. I want to talk to you for days and I have to wrap things up. So when you come to visit me in the Pyrenees, you're going to have 2 rest days. We're going to go for an awesome ride and I'm going to do another pod with you and we're going to talk totally different things because I just think this is going to be amazing. Just what you've got ahead of you, what you've already done, the wisdom you've already shared here on the show. It's just mega. I don't want to wrap things up, but I have to. I have 3 questions which I ask my guests to wrap things up. Quick fire. The first one's music related. And with Seek Travel Ride, Lotti, everyone that's a guest of the show gets to pick a song, and that song is the soundtrack to their adventures, and it goes on the Seek Travel Ride music playlist. 1 song chosen from every guest on the show, available for you listeners on Apple and Spotify. What song are you going to pick to be the soundtrack of your adventures?
Oh, I think there are several. Probably if there's like one general sound, I think it's Up in the Sky by, I don't know, like the band's called like 77 Bombay Street or something. Such a nice song. I love that.
Oh, all right. Up in the Sky. That's you. That's you down there, Lotti. Okay, next question. You're given a choice one day. If you turn left, you will be on a road that is the bumpiest washboard corrugated road of your life. There is no getting to the smooth surface. It's just bumps and corrugations the whole way. Or if you go right, you're into a never-ending brutal headwind. Which one are you going to choose?
I think it's the bumpy road.
The bumpy road.
Yeah,
Why is
I'll
that?
just try to release some pressure on my tires.
This is definitely someone who's ridden Silk Road Mountain Race. Or you'll just hike a bike.
Yeah, that's not a problem, but like wind is something that's just like super annoying.
Soul destroying.
That's true.
All right, final question for you, Lotti, and that is, I want you to finish this sentence for me, which is, the best thing about taking a bike adventure is?
Being free?
Being free. Oh, I love it. And have you felt like since you've really fallen into the land of bike adventures of all different sorts, that's the residual feeling that you're getting?
Yeah, for me, like freedom is about independence. And I am totally independent if I can decide where I want to sleep, how long I want to sleep, where I want to go. I can go there by my own power. It's like just everything. Totally. And I mean, also back to the privilege. I have a German passport. I can just easily go to places like Taiwan. And so far, I just applied for 1 visa for Laos, which I could do at the border. So far, I didn't have any kind of visa struggle at all. And I have the privilege that, like in Germany, the minimum pay is really high. So I can earn quite a lot of money in a short period, which is kind of more worth in other parts of the world.
to allow you to have these experiences as well. Yeah. And I think the thing that comes across, and it's come across the whole way through, and I don't want to talk about your age anymore. Like, yeah, you're 20, but you know what, Lotti? If none of us knew what your age was, just looked at the words you were saying, we would all just swear blind that you could be double your age. And I'm not saying that you are. Like, I'm just saying it's the level of maturity that comes with the experiences that you have condensed into just the last few years. And it's come through over and over again, through the maturity of talking about passport privilege, the maturity of thinking about the environment and choosing to ride to places because you do have the time and it's a climate conscious way of arrival. The maturity on knowing that, oh, you know what, I'm going to problem solve my way through this, I can keep calm, to, you know, knowing that I love these races, I might be able to come first, but actually this year I want to prioritise time with my family because they're my community and I love that around me. There's so many great nuggets of wisdom, listeners, that I hope you have latched on here today with. Also say, Lotti Power, what an absolute damn pleasure it's been to speak and chat with you for the last couple of hours here. I can't wait to meet you in real life, ride up a mountain, eat a French pastry, have some cake and enjoy some good vibes. Thank you so much for sharing your stories and experiences here on the podcast for Seek Travel Ride.
Thank you. Like, it's also so crazy what I like about cycling and the cycling community, that I feel so connected so quickly. So I feel like we just met like 2 hours ago and I just feel like we're like totally good friends. So that's also what I really, really love. And I can't wait to visit you in the Pyrenees.
Awesome. And I can't wait to see where your next bike adventure takes you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Listeners, if you are like me, even though this was such a long podcast session, you're probably going to be leaving it energized. And who knows, maybe Lotti's convinced you to take on that challenge that you've had in the back of your mind. Whether that challenge might be an Audax ride, maybe you're thinking you'd like to maybe qualify for Paris Brest Paris and give something like that a go. Or perhaps you want to, line up for the Silk Road Mountain Race. Whatever. It could just be that you want to go on a 2-week bike tour or a long weekend bike trip. Maybe you want to hike up a hill. Either way, I think Lotti's words of wisdom there, the time and the motivation, if you have the privilege to be able to do something, maybe now's the time to make it happen. I really loved so much of what we spoke about. I loved that front and centre of nearly every single answer for Lotti was just enthusiasm and energy. I don't know if you could hear it in her voice. It was sat across from me through, virtually on the computer screen. She was almost constantly smiling. Even those moments she was talking about, which really pushed and challenged her, you could always tell that in her mind she was still, energized now, looking back at what she'd gone through. And I really love it when someone also, they're doing what their passion is. She does want to challenge herself. So there is the competitive side of what Lotti does. But also on the flip side, she's more than happy to spend time with people. And I could also tell that being with people, being with others, being in a community is something that is really near and dear to her and important to her as well. I'm looking forward to seeing what races she lines up to with her dad, seeing her race with Sarah Bosslet, and for sure coming and visiting me, and let's see what sort of chilled adventure I can take her on. Pray for me, listeners. But yeah, I'm so stoked to have Lotti on the show. And listeners, if you have enjoyed this episode and you're loving Seek Travel Ride and you want to hear more of these episodes each and every week from this independent podcaster, what you can do is head to buymeacoffee.com/Seek Travel Ride. Buy me some virtual coffees and let me know what is it that you love about the podcast and where is your next bike adventure going to be taking you. And until the next episode, I'm Bella Malloy. Thanks for listening. Listeners, that's the end of the episode. But before you go, don't forget to check out Old Man Mountain, who are supporting this podcast. Check out their 12-litre Atlas rack pack, which is a pretty cool addition if you want more space without sacrificing any stability. Head to oldmanmountain.com and support the brands that support this podcast.